Welcome to Rodney and Dr. A's Relationship Club. If this is your first time, if not, welcome back. Today we will bring part 2 of the 8 discussions that you should have before marriage. We recommend watching part 1 first.
Number 3 is discussing living or relocating. Picture this. I know of an individual that proposed to a young lady that he met while she was interning over the summer. She did not live in the state that they met. And once she graduated from college, her job was hundreds of miles away. And they ended up calling the wedding off because he refused to move there and she wasn't going to leave her job opportunity and come to where they actually met. So that's something that you definitely want to discuss beforehand, because it's very possible that you could have something brewing where you have to leave the state. Or if you don't even have something at that time, what happens if my job decides that they want me to move or they want me to leave? So I think talking about where we're going to live and if you're open to relocating is something that you should discuss before you say I do.
What about if you have your own place and he has his own place? Absolutely.
We definitely need to discuss where we're going to live once we come together. Are you going to move in with me? Am I going to move in with you? Or are we going to dissolve both places and get something that we call our own? I'm kind of a little partial to us getting our thing together. You might catch an attitude, try to kick me out your place. Number 4 is whether we're going to have a joint or a separate account. Now, you have to be mindful of the debt to income ratio that each person brings into the relationship. Because now, once we tie that knot, it's no longer me, my, and mine. It's we, us, and ours. So everything that I have is what she has. Everything that she has is what I have. And all of that comes together. So we need to discuss what those finances are going to look like. Now, I'm one of those people that's very bad with money. I was a guy that thought if I had checks in the checkbook, that meant I had money in the bank. But that's not really how that works. Alicia, on the other hand, is very good with money. So I really let her deal with all the finances to make sure we don't end up living outside. But you do want to talk about where we're going to have joint accounts. Are we going to maintain separate accounts? And it's possible. I know of people that have a joint account where they take care of all the household bills, but they still have separate accounts where if they want to go out and hang out or buy something that's small or, any of the hobbies or things like that they still have that and it never touches the main finances of the house.
Number 5, career goals and aspirations. It's important to kind of identify whether you're both career driven, or is it just one of you that's career driven? Is it one of you that wants to move up the corporate ladder and you stay at work all day and all night? And if that's the case, you have to decide whether or not that's going to work for your situation.
Absolutely. You also want to talk about education. Someone may have those aspirations of continuing and going in that higher education, which means it's going to have to take some time away that they spend with the family or in that relationship, because they have to put that effort into the schoolwork. So those are things that definitely need to be discussed on the front end to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Right, because sometimes one is very career driven and the other one is happy where they are.
Right, absolutely.
Number 6, mental health and medical history. This is key. Very important. And a lot of times we don't realize that. I know when we got married, or actually when we were dating, I never thought about this situation.
Neither did I.
Until I started working in the mental health field.
Right.
But both of these are genetic. So you want to understand the person's medical and mental health family genetic background, because it can impact children's health and mental health as well. So you need to actually have a sit-down talk to talk about what are some genetic mental health illnesses that may be prevalent in your family, or what are some genetic medical issues that may be prevalent in your family. And that way you can decide whether you want to go ahead and have kids,
right,
or you may want to start working on eating differently, thinking differently, exercising, or whatever it is that you introduce that into your house so that maybe it can alleviate some of these genetic issues that may occur in your family.
Yeah, and I think it's very important that both parties are 100% honest with each other when they're asking these questions. Because a lot of people may have a little trepidation because, well, if I do have mental health issues, schizophrenia, bipolar, things like that in my family, I don't want to divulge that. But like you said, that stuff is genetic. and it can be passed through those genes. So you definitely want to know exactly what you're getting into, because that would almost be a form of deceit if I hold something like that back, and then we have children and find out later that that was already in the bloodline, and perhaps we could have done something to make that outcome different.
Right.
Number 7, how you gonna deal with conflict? Now this one here is very important because communication is key in any relationship, but definitely in a marriage. Now, one of the things that we do with each other, and after 34 years, we still do it the exact same way. When things start to get too heated between us, we'll shut it down and it'll take a few days, a couple hours, whatever, but then we write everything down. When we communicate through letters, notes, or whatever it is, you don't have to worry about getting your back up. You can actually hear what that person is saying. That person can hear what you're saying. And then you can take that time to be able to get a response and not feel like you have to defend yourself. But one of the things that I always say is there are certain things I will never say to her. I hope there's certain things she'll never say to me because she's my wife. I love her. This is my queen. This is my best friend. So there's a line that I definitely will never cross with her, no matter how I feel or whatever it is, because there's just certain things that I won't do. Because once you put it out there, you can't ever take it back. So the way that you deal with conflict is very important. And believe it or not, when you're having children and they're watching how you deal with conflict, you're actually teaching them how to deal with conflict later on in their lives.
I also recommend that you use I statements because that lessens the conflict.
For sure.
And it makes it more personal. So I recommend using the I statements. For example, I feel very upset when you say this or when you do this because.
Right.
Because it makes the person feel like it's not their fault. Even though maybe sometimes it could be. But it's also letting the person know that, okay, I am affecting you in these ways because you feel this way. So once you start practicing the I statements and using the I statements, at first it kind of feels kind of weird.
Yes.
But then once you start using those statements, it kind of makes it easier for you and your partner to communicate, and it causes less anger than in that spill that you're having.
Right. And last little piggyback before we move to the next thing. When we first got married, everybody has that cliche, don't ever go to bed mad. Don't ever go to bed upset. Man, get out of here with that. Because that's not realistic. When we're upset, when she's mad, when I'm mad, when it's heated, we'll be sitting up till 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning, 2 or 3 days in a row because you might not be able to squash that. But again, the thing is the way that you communicate. If I am upset, honey, I can't talk about this right now. I'll come to you when I'm ready to talk about it. And then you do have to come back to that person. But saying that you're never going to go to bed upset, that's not going to work. It's better for you to go to bed upset before you say something crazy and then you really be up all night.
Right. Or days or years.
Point number 8 is political views. Now, politics and religion, as we all know, is a very, very touchy subject, no matter who it is. And if you have not discussed what your political views are, it could be something that causes you to clash later on. Now, I actually know some people that had completely different political views, and they were able to coexist with one another, but I got to imagine sometimes that does start to become a little heated. So you definitely want to know whether your partner is more conservative or more liberal, Republican, Democrat, independent. I don't care what it is, but that's something that you definitely need to talk about, because if you don't discuss that, it could come up in a major way later on in the relationship.
Yes.
So there you have our 8 conversations that you should have before marriage. We want to make sure that we talk about where we're going to live, if we're open to relocating. Are we going to have joint or separate banking accounts? How are those finances going to work? We definitely want to know if one person is a little bit more career driven or trying to go up that corporate ladder than the other. Most importantly for us, we think anyway, we definitely want to talk about that family mental health and medical history. We thank you all for joining us today. If you enjoyed what you've seen, we want you to hit that like button, but more importantly, hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell. That way, every time we put out a new video, you'll be the first ones to know. Have a blessed day.